Let's get into it, shall we? Training camp. They all hop off the bus, being dropped onto the side of the road on a mountaintop. The teachers talk, then snicker a little. Deku notices and squints at them, disapproving of their methods. The teachers huddle the class together. The teachers huddle the class together and say their bus broke down and that they have to walk. Aizawa mimes a tear. Deku rolls his eyes and asks what direction. Aizawa points to a mountain on the opposite side of the road they stand on. The class looks there and then looks back at Aizawa, all looking defeated after finding out he wasn't joking. Deku shrugs and jumps down, figuring he'll get an early start, as does Todoroki and Bakugo, not wanting to be left behind. They make it to the camp quicker in this timeline, and the rest follows as canon. The days go on and Deku traces Susanoo, finding he can use Susanoo for longer periods of time. He can use what he calls a perfect Susanoo, but only for about 5 seconds. He stumbles on this power on accident after training for so long with his Mangekyo active. The pain he gets every time he uses them now has subsided too. The third day rolls around and Deku partakes in the forest challenge. Walking through alone after seeing the aura of someone hiding next to the bushes of him, watching him. He ignores them, keeping an eye on them just in case. They jump out and he spinning back kicks them, connecting to their face and knocking them out. Deku looks at the man who is in a strafe jacket. What kind of loonies are out here? He looks around, finding his class is separated. Following his path back, he meets with the teachers. He relays the message to them, and they are alerted about the potential villain attack sooner than in canon. He goes to Koda, running as fast as he can. Jumping up the side of the mountain, he would find Koda alone. Sensing a powerful presence nearby, Deku tries to convince Koda to dip, but he won't, as he doesn't trust him in this timeline. Deku catches a glimpse of the man who was hiding behind a rock. Grabbing Koda and jumping out of the way, he coats himself and Koda in version 1 Susanoo. Well, if it isn't our target. Big Boss says he wants your eyes. I can see why now. Deku thinks about this. What? They want his eyes. He attacks Muscular with his Susanoo, but it doesn't faze him. Deku looks at Koda and then smiles, going version 3 state. The Susanoo's body would appear, forming bone, then muscle. Her face would grow, screaming. Aizawa and the class would hear this, looking up at the mountain. Deku would jump, holding Koda before he grabbed Muscular. Using his eyes, he would use his force technique. Muscular would retract his muscles, and due to the blood rushing down, would pass out. Deku bringing him to Aizawa ASAP. Deku was currently drained, looking around to see what else he could do before he was attacked. What the? Am I getting slow? He would say, looking at the people that jumped him. The man would attack with fire, blue fire. Once again, Deku couldn't predict it. His eyes not able to see his pathways. Deku knew this was bad. Using his Eye of Surge to freeze the people before delivering a nasty elbow. To his surprise, they melt after getting struck. The clones smiling at him, but that would explain it, he says to himself, keeping his guard up from there. In the middle of the forest, he would run into Todoroki and Tokiyami, who were running in a group. They looked back to see if anyone was chasing him, before sitting to catch their breath. Deku looks around, not feeling safe. He would feel a presence somewhere. He just couldn't pinpoint it. He was then grabbed from behind, out of a portal, and sucked in. The group couldn't do nothing but watch as Deku vanished before them. Momo would still put a tracker on the Nomu, and the raid would still commence. Deku being held hostage in this timeline. Deku would look around. He was in a dark room with a single door. He was sat across from a man with a large mask on. Breathing heavily, the man would speak. You know, I lost my sight a couple of years ago in a fight with the symbol of peace. He took more than that from me. But, with your quirk, I'll be able to have it back. Deku looked at him, his aura and his pathways. Like All Might's, his pathways were all messed up, an amalgamation of surgery and quirks. Deku was repulsed. He was even surprised the man was still alive, but he felt paralyzed by fear. Thinking back, he remembered to the convo he had with All Might when he was saved. His eyes widened, and as he realized the severity of his capture, Deku looks in horror as All For One opens his hands and brings it closer to Deku's eyes. A knock at the door with an inconspicuous pizza request followed by a large gust of wind would follow. Deku looked around, seeing the building had been torn in half, and they were surrounded. He smiled, looking around at all those who had came to save him. Portals would open, seeing Nomu pour out. Deku would jump up, rushing off, before All For One noticed. Deku would feel motivated, looking at All Might, who had stayed to fight All For One. Deku stood beside him. He would call forth his version 3 Susanoo and coat All Might in it. All Might would ask what he's doing. Deku would tell him to attack as he says so. Deku, All Might readying his fist at would aim at All for One. Deku would quickly switch from his third form to his fourth form, and the Susanoo screaming and flailing. Armor would surround it, and his fingers would do a hand sign, shining both his Mangekyo at All for One. He could bear an unbelievable pressure upon him. All for One would cough blood, and Deku would scream for All Might to attack. All Might pouring his last embers into the fist would deliver a nasty blow to All for One, completely evaporating him. All Might would stand proud with his hands up. Deku, seeing his aura fading, would flick dust up, about to pass out himself, covering All Might's transformation from the public eye. And that's where I'm going to end it. It was a pretty short part. Kind of a short story, if I'm being honest with you, but it was a good story in my opinion. If you like this, please subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Catch ya.